There is one set of workers who are struggling to hold on to their jobs, and they are the employees at Remploy. The region's last government-funded factory, specially set up for disabled workers, could soon close. Remploy in Norwich is one of 18 factories nationwide that's under review. If private investors don't take the factories on, hundreds of Remploy's disabled workers will have to find new jobs. Maria Veronese reports.
Harvey Cairn has learning and mobility difficulties. He's worked for Remploy for 21 years and knows everything there is to know about the factory's product, cardboard packaging.
It's a good company and offers meaningful support, but also for people there who haven't worked for a long time who want to get back into work, it gives them a chance to come back into work and get self-respect and dignity and training to help them improve themselves and probably find other meaningful work elsewhere if they so wish.
What are you going to do if this place closes?
Probably never work again. As much as I'll look, as hard as I'll try to look for work, no one will employ me because they just look at disability.
Like Harvey, Susan's worked for Remploy for a long time. She has autism. Before getting her job 15 years ago, she'd been unemployed.
If you saw what we were doing today, it's proof that we've got jobs just the same as the able-bodied people, perhaps not in the way that we're on a production line and all that, working quickly. But we are still working for our bread and butter, we're still earning a wage, and we're not on benefits.
Remploy was set up after the Second World War for those who'd been disabled during the conflict. Of Remploy's 54 factories, 36 now face possible closure, including Remploy in Norwich, which has 28 disabled employees. We can't show you them working inside the factory because Remploy's head office, which comes under government control, won't allow us in. The average Remploy wage is £14,000 a year, and the government also pays £11,000 per employee to cover the specialist support they need at work.
The important thing for anybody who is affected by the decision here to make sure that the money we're using, the protected budget that we're using, is supporting more disabled people, is that this is an opportunity for us to support existing Remploy factory employees into new work where required, to put in place the sort of training that can make a real difference to the sorts of jobs they might be able to get. And I would reassure them that we will make sure that the support is there, one-on-one support, to make sure that they can look at all of the options that are there for them.
While this factory attracts business from companies like Premier Foods and Marks & Spencer, year on year it's operated at a loss.
So, will business leaders really be interested in taking all of this on?
No one is saying, including the unions, it doesn't require further modernisation or compromises, but most of these 54 factories are bordering towards profit making. They can remain open. It is a vital life source for these people and their families and prevent them being a burden on the taxpayer.
There's talk of a ballot for strike action, but on site there's little optimism.
With Remploy, you can come to work, you can do meaningful employment, you can have your problems, and you've got someone you can go and speak to help with the problems.
It's a case of all birds of a feather go together. If you go out in the outside world, you're like a sparrow among the starlings, whereas here you're a starling amongst the starlings, in that we're all in the same boat, you see.
And we will be staying in touch with Harvey and Sue to see how they get on. Well, joining us now is Glenn Holdham from the GMB Union. What do you think the future of that plant is then, Glenn Holdham?
Well, I don't think it probably has too much of a future, unfortunately. First of all, I'm very disappointed that Remploy didn't take this opportunity once again for coming on this programme to say that we're open for business. We have a brand here which can be sustained moving forward in the future.
Isn't there an argument, though, for getting these workers into mainstream jobs rather than segregating them in Remploy factories?
Well, let's make it clear that we've always said that people should have a choice to go into mainstream employment, and a lot have chosen to do so. Others had chosen to remain at the factory. In 2011, there was a voluntary redundancy programme whereby these people saw a future with Remploy, the brand and what it attracts to the business, and chose to remain with them. Now, I don't think there is a case, both financially and economically, for the closure of the factories. I have to also say that we are not against modernisation, and the unions will not say that necessarily 54 factories will remain open. But certainly there's not a case for closure of all that there are.
I'm interested to know if you think the £6,000 worth of subsidies over the 3 years is enough incentive for employers to take on these workers.
I don't think it is at the end of the day. I mean, there are liabilities there. We can't ignore that. There's always a level of subsidy required. There is with the rail network. There are with other functions as well. So no one is saying that there shouldn't be a subsidy, but you know, this is quality employment, as both Chloe and Richard are aware.
Well, let me bring Chloe and Richard in on this then. Chloe Smith, a heartless decision that's going to leave hundreds of disabled workers back on benefits.
No, not the case. I've visited this factory, and I'm very pleased to have Glenn on today. As a Norwich MP, of course, I've been to talk about this recently with members of Remploy there. I think I am also conscious of some of the numbers involved here. So, of course, there are 26 people at the Norwich Remploy factory. You could compare that to the many tens of thousands of disabled people in the city as a whole. And I do think we have to look at how the budget available, the protected budget for specialist employment, can be made to help many more of those people. And I do think that's really important.
But Harvey said in that film he will never work again. That's what he feels.
Well, and Harvey and anybody else in that situation from these factories, if that were the case at Norwich, would get a very decent and very sizable package to help him. And that's what we must do. We must make that money go further to help more disabled people. That's what we all want to see
Richard
happen.
Howett, modernisation of Remploy started under Labour in 2007. You could have done more to support them.
Well, I just have to contradict what we've heard totally. Ian Duncan-Smith, Chloe's Conservative colleague, the Minister responsible, said earlier this month, quote, "They all sit around and just drink tea," unquote. Say that to Sue. Say that to Harvey. I've been very associated with the Norwich factory. I'm deeply concerned that the government won't let the cameras go in because they've got a good story to tell. The local management have done a great job in driving business up. These are real jobs. And we're talking about a comparison of a company where they're doing publishing, they're doing binding, they've just got a major contract for a hotel. Now, if all of that is closed down, look at over in Wisbech, in the Fens, the Remploy factory was closed down there, and Glenn and his union, the GMB's own survey shows 85% of the disabled people 3 years later are still out of work.
OK, Glenn, do you believe these workers will find mainstream jobs?
No, I don't, and the statistics will reflect that. Richard just said that 85% of the people who left in 2008 have not found meaningful employment. Those that did, statistically, there's only about 7% that remain in employment. I deal with a host of other employers, as the other CCTV companies, and the longest that anybody has last in those companies, mainstream employment, has been about a year.
Well, as I said, we will be keeping in touch with Harvey and Sue to see what their future is. Glenn Holdham, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.